Welcome to Tearing Off, a side series I make since animation takes time and I gotta fill the gap somehow. If this is your first video of mine, I normally try to mix animation and opinionated game review content into one, and for the people who are returning and are concerned that my usual content is gonna stop, don't be. This is really just a way for me to fill in the gap between large videos. You know, sort of like how you rot away at a shitty fast food joint making $12 an hour while your bosses make $15 an hour, all the while the asshats who own the joint are millionaires or billionaires or whatever and can very easily pay you more for your work, but simply don't since they want to line their pockets and inflate profits by underpaying their workers while offering them hollow benefits in an attempt to get them to stay since it's the easiest possible solution to their problems since they forgot what it was like to be a human being. Meanwhile, you're sitting in the back of the joint on a verge of a mental breakdown every day while getting grease-based burns on your dominant hand from those terrifying grills and struggling to pay the bills while your coping mechanisms start to lose their effectiveness. And then by the time you get home, you can't actually bring yourself to do anything you're passionate about since you're too tired. So you waste your time rotting away watching YouTube in your bed or on your computer as time passes, and by the time you've recovered from your shitty real job fatigue, you have to go to bed, so you can't actually do anything you wanted to do that day, leaving you with no meaningful free time. Anyways, yeah, these videos are just supposed to be quick and easy to make videos. They're mostly going to be on games, but I'm not throwing other things out of the park either, whatever they may be. I also want to clear this up, any game I look at here might get a larger video at some point. Not a guaranteed large video, some games are just too small for me to justify looking at. And speaking of small, Micro Mages. This game has been on my radar for a while now. Developed by Morphocat Games, I'm not too sure on the full context behind its development, but I'm pretty sure it was made as a self-imposed challenge for them or something. The game was made as a homebrew NES game, designed to use only 40 kilobytes of data, using every trick in the book the hardware could do to achieve that. I would highly recommend watching their video on all the tricks they did. Real fascinating stuff. Some of the details went over my head a little, but I still liked it. Anyways, not beating the can't make a video under 10 minutes allegations by rambling like this, so let's kick this into high gear and actually talk about the game. You play as a little wizard climbing a tower to reclaim your princess, who was kidnapped after one of your fellow wizards left the door unlocked. That is not a joke. Technically, you play as one of 4 little wizards, although it's really just a palette swap, and I'm pretty sure you can only play as a different wizard if you have other players. Oh, yeah, also this game has multiplayer. I don't have any multiplayer footage, but you can actually play with up to 3 other people. And naturally, with an old school style game like this, the main incentive is scoring and getting a higher score than your friends, so if you're up for it, go nuts! Not really my thing personally, but you do you. Diving into the gameplay now, your goal is to get to the top of whatever tower you're on while busting into crates, casting spells, and in general not dying a bloody death from any variety of skeletons, goblins, bats, ghosts, and the like. Typical NES game, I suppose. Getting into control, it's good, although I was experiencing dropped inputs on the base executable. Maybe it's because I use a PlayStation controller instead of an Xbox controller, but it is a bit of an issue nonetheless. Luckily, the NES ROMs are actually inside the files of the Steam version, so one emulated playthrough later and it controls perfectly. As for the movement, you have the basics: run, jump, shoot. What is this, Mega Man? You also have a wall jump and a charge shot that functions as a double jump when you aim downwards. Pretty solid moveset overall. I especially like the charge shot functioning as a double jump. A lot more creative than just making me press the button twice. As for the stages, each of the towers has 3 levels, with the boss of each tower lying on the 3rd stage. The only exceptions are towers 4 and 8, both of which having 4 stages, with the 4th having 2 bosses and the 8th having 3 bosses. Every stage automatically scrolls vertically, and I'm sure that might scare some people away since they'll likely associate auto-scroll with painfully slow, but in actuality, the scrolling speed is based on how high you are on the screen at the time, slowing down near the bottom and speeding up at the top. Very thankful for that feature. As you climb up the towers, you'll find chests and crates that contain loot. Bashing them open can net you anything from items that simply increase your points to fairies that act as shields, a feather that acts as a shield and allows you to hover for a short amount of time, and a star that will cause you to swap places with someone else, assuming you're playing multiplayer. You can even have both a feather and a fairy at the same time, allowing you to take up to 3 hits. Solid stuff overall, but nothing too interesting to talk about here. Something more interesting to talk about is the bosses. I mean, they're nothing really to write home about, but the concepts are solid and they put up a good fight. The boss of the 7th world especially, that fucker's second phase kicked my ass. They're all designed really well, and their patterns are really easy to read. The only boss I have a major gripe with is the true final boss. Spoilers, I guess? I don't fucking know. Either or, the boss itself is just fine, but holy shit do I feel restricted with my movement here. The player just feels so heavy. It's honestly a little frustrating to control. Maybe it's just me having a major case of skill issue, but I have so much trouble dodging this fucker's attacks, and it's made all the worse by the fact that you have 2 hits in the final stage. No way to recover that fairy, so you better make it count. Also, this guy's a bit of a pain to hit. While it's firing, you can't damage it, which, to be fair, was established earlier in what I would consider to be Phase 1, but it just sort of leaves a bit of a bad taste in my mouth after playing what is overall a good experience. And to play devil's advocate here, it is supposed to be a multiplayer experience, and this is the final boss. I could see a bit of a difficulty hike here. Besides, how can I be bad at a game like this when you can do a little jig by pressing down on the D-pad in the main game? Overall, Micro Mages is a pretty solid experience. It fumbled a bit at the end there, but I'm sure it was mostly a skill issue on my part. The best part is I didn't even go over the secrets this game has. I mean, granted, that's because I haven't taken the time to find them myself at the time of writing this, but still. I know that finding all the secrets in one run unlocks a hard mode for the game, but that's something for you and me to discover away from this video. And that's all without getting into the second quest, which I'm pretty sure is just some sort of official level hack that spices things up a smidge. But it's still some extra content that you get out of the box. I'd seriously recommend giving Micro Mages a try. It's also on the PlayStation 4 and 5 for you console lovers out there. Not sure if it's gonna see an Xbox or Switch release, the latter being particularly enticing to me, but I'd definitely try to pick it up. Shit, if you're feeling particularly retro, you can even snag a physical copy, pop it into an NES, and it's like you're in the 80s all over again. Unless, of course, you were born after the 80s, then it would probably be the first time for you. Of course, going that route means dishing out 50 euros, so roughly $53. And as for the digital versions, from what I can tell, they're about $10 on all storefronts. Not bad, I think, seeing as you're technically getting 2 games in one. And with that, that's about all I have to say about Micro Mages. Do the YouTube shit or whatever.